So we are the Holistic Healer Collective, and we've partnered with Wellset to bring you these virtual sessions. And Joetta is an amazing, amazing resource for us personally, to be honest, but for many people around the globe because of this virtual capabilities. She is someone who we trust, who can help move fears around money, especially during these times. So we're so excited that you guys are here and that you're here to listen to Joetta. So enjoy.
Joetta. Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks. Well, it is incredible to be here with everybody, and I feel really honored to be able to share my wisdom and experience and optimism during such a wild time on the planet right now. And it really feels like I was listening to one of my mentors this morning, and he was talking about, it's just like history in the making. And we're always in history in the making. But this is a very significant time, and we're all feeling it in our own unique ways. And so I thought, when HHC, Ashley and Talia reached out to me to do a talk, I was really excited to be able to provide something to support people during this time, because I think we have a unique opportunity to really look at our relationship with finances, with money, and be able to establish a clear vision for ourselves and work with whatever fears and concerns may be coming up. There may not be any coming up for you, but in the conversations I've been having with many of my clients, there's a lot of concerns arising. And so hopefully this supports you in being able to establish a strong foundation for yourself as we go through this collective experience together, because you are a microcosm of the macrocosm. You are one piece of the whole, and everything that we do as one piece of the whole, I really believe it influences how we go through this on a whole. And a whole at this point means a global level. So I'm calling it navigating the financial unknown, and it's really a way to begin to soften any underlying fears and concerns so you can get clear about your money and have a powerful vision to live into. So I have what are called 3 keys to remaining calm, clear, and collected during unknown times, because really with finances, we're constantly navigating the unknown. We're constantly navigating times of ebb and times of flow, times of contraction, times of expansion. And so it's like how well we do with both the contraction and the expansion kind of speaks to our financial maturity. And so being able to kind of set fear aside and move from a place of reactivity, because that's what can happen. We go into fight or flight mode, and we either fight, flight, or freeze, and move into a place of proactivity. Like, what can we do with what we have? What can we control? What can't we control? What can we influence? What is much larger than what we can influence? And when we set that fear aside and kind of move into a place of proactivity, then we're able to actually start to create clarity, financial clarity, so that we can make the best decisions with the resources that we have and the resources that we can generate during this time. And then be able to create a financial vision that you can actually fortify with your attention and your focus. So hopefully by the end of our time together today, you'll have some very clear ways and things that you can do to work on your finances and to work on your relationship to money, so that you live into something that is very powerful and abundant during a time where it may feel like things are falling apart and there isn't abundance or there's scarcity, because they are essentially falling apart. They're gonna fall apart, and kind of falling apart is almost necessary to rebuild. And so we're kind of in this very unique place on a global level, economically, where we can create from a clearer slate. So that is my intention of being able to provide you with tools and techniques that you can walk away from in this time together and be able to apply it in your life immediately. So who am I? My name is Joetta Johnson, and I have a company called the Priestess of Finance, and that is at www.priestessoffinance.com. And I am a former accountant, financial analyst, and auditor. I came out of the corporate world, and I have a degree in business and accounting. And I've been a financial mastery coach for over the past 14 years. And I worked with thousands of people, couples and entrepreneurs and individuals all over the world. And really, I was an accountant who was really challenged by my own relationship with money. And it was very confusing to me at the time of why I had such a hard time with personal finance when I had all of this knowledge around budgeting and accounting and financial goals and how to manage money, but yet I had a really hard time applying it in my own personal financial life. And so I had to go on a journey, and I call it, like, essentially it was the hero's journey, because I had to go and understand why I was having so many challenges with money. And through that journey, I learned tons and tons and tons of tools and techniques and insights, and gained a lot of wisdom. And so was able to basically apply that wisdom in my own life, have a lot of success, and then start coaching other people on how to do it. And I've been doing that for the past 14 years. And so I took everything that I learned in the corporate world and in business and blended it with all of these things I learned about belief systems with money and personal finance, and created this body of work that I take people through. And I do that on one-on-one coaching, and I do that through courses. So that is why I'm here today, to support all of you. And so the first thing I really wanted to talk about was just being able to identify any fears and concerns that may be coming up for you during this particular period of time, where we can see, the stock market dropping, an upcoming presidential election, the coronavirus, spreading throughout the world and really impacting businesses and individuals. And so we can kind of see all this happening on a global scale. And then we see kind of how it's affecting us individually. And some of these fears that we have that are get triggered by what gets communicated through the media, through social media, through our friends, through our families. But these things can happen, through the media. There are certain kind of influences that cause us to go into more of a reaction. But then we also have this filtration system called our own personal belief system that can influence how we're processing that information and how we're processing it in relationship to our own personal finances. So I thought one of the best things we could do just to start is for you to take a piece of paper and just list right now any financial fears or concerns that you feel you are having. Just kind of taking a moment to identify, like, is there any fear that you're noticing? Are there any concerns? Is it about money or finances right now? Is it about them in the future? Because that's a big distinction. what's actually happening now and what we think could happen into the future. So just taking a moment and kind of listing out what they are for you. You may even have ones about others, fears or concerns about friends, about family, about your community, about your country. So identifying them just for yourself at first, and then if you have them for others as well. So taking a moment to just be writing those down, getting in touch with them. What are they really? Sometimes we just feel them in the background and we don't even know what they are specifically, but we just notice a lot of anxiety that can start to build. And then as you're writing down those fears or concerns, being able to put emotion to it. So I have this list, it's called your emotional IQ guide. And there are different flavors of emotion. One is called like an upper limit, which is more, like optimistic and joyful and happy. And then we have the lower limit, which are more the intense emotions like grief and hopelessness and depressed and lonely. And then we have one that are more like catalysts that can like move energy. For example, I'm feeling irritated, might be able to start to like move energy. Anger, feeling mad. These are types of emotions that are called catalysts. And then the last list is kind of like mixed. So these can hopefully help you begin to identify what emotions am I feeling right now? We're not really trained that well, at least in the Western culture, to really specifically identify like what are the emotions that are happening for me right now. They may be connected to your finances, or they just may be connected to what's happening on the planet around this virus. We may have health fears rising. And so kind of identifying the fears, identifying the concerns, and then really naming some of the emotions that you are feeling. And then as you identify these, feel free to share them on the chat, because I'm going to come back to them. And there will be a point in our call together where I call on people or read from the chat. So we're going to take these financial fears and concerns and the emotions that we're feeling. We're kind of like acknowledging these emotions, like giving them creed, giving them a voice, allowing them to be felt so that we can be in touch with what's happening, as opposed to what can easily happen is we just bypass them, like try to overlay them with like trying to be positive, trying to be optimistic, not really giving them creed, but yet they're like churning inside of us underneath everything, and they're going to come out in some way. So the more we're able to be with them and acknowledge them and give room for them, give room for us to feel them, the more they're able to kind of like help us move through them and also gain insights from them. So we're going to kind of like hold that to the side right now. And we are going to start to get what I call a lay of the land. And what I refer to as the lay of the land is really the terrain in our subconscious mind. Because what lives in our subconscious mind is going to influence how we experience what is happening. It's our internal financial landscape. And so anything that's going on in the world, anything that's going on around us, we have like colored glasses on, and we start to see things through the coloring of those glasses. And so the more we're able to get in touch with what is actually going on in the subconscious mind, how is it relating to what's going on, the more we're able to process that and then come more into the conscious mind. So we become more clear and decisive and confident and visionary. But we need to basically address what's going on with our subconscious mind. And I have a very, very effective technique for helping us identify what is actually happening in the background. And I found this to be highly transformative with all of my clients. When they do this exercise, they get tons of insight of what's really going on in their subconscious mind and how distinct that is from our conscious mind. So I'm going to have you essentially put everything down for right now, because we're going to move more into a visualization meditation exercise. And if you feel comfortable and if you're not driving or anything and are able to do this in a safe place, then I encourage you to close your eyes. And I'm just going to have you take 3 really deep breaths. And while you were taking those 3 deep breaths, just getting in touch with like how you're feeling in your body. Noticing how you're feeling in your body, given that we are talking about what can be an uncomfortable subject at times, money and finances and what's going on in the world. Taking in those 3 deep breaths, noticing what's going on in your body. Again, noticing like what those emotions were that you were feeling, what emotions you currently are feeling. And then letting all that go. And then we're going to call on your instincts or your intuition to develop a picture for you in your mind's eye. And this picture is of a body of water. And this body of water represents your current relationship to money. And just allowing that to become clearer and clearer into focus. So much so that you begin to hear what the water sounds like. You begin to smell what the scent is like. Notice what the water would taste like. Notice how it would feel on your skin. Notice its temperature. Notice its color. Notice the environment that it's in. Notice if there are people around, no people. Noticing where you are in proximity to this body of water. And then noticing how it makes you feel. Remember those emotions that we were looking at. What emotions does this activate for you? And then lastly, noticing like if there's any correlation with what you've been noticing in your relationship to money and this water vision, or what's going on in your unique financial circumstances, how it might relate to this particular body of water. Okay, and then we're going to take this image, we're going to place it on a chalkboard in front of us with an eraser. We're going to take that eraser and we're going to erase this vision off the board, coming back to a clean, clear slate with nothing on it. And then we're going to ask this higher intelligence in you to again present an image to you. This image is another body of water, but one that represents your optimal relationship with money. Allowing that to come into clearer and clearer focus. So much so where you begin to hear that body of water. What does it smell like? What would it taste like? What is the temperature? What is the color? Noticing the environment, the surroundings. Where are you in relationship to the water? And then beginning to notice its qualities, key words, adjectives. How would you describe this body of water? How does this body of water make you feel? And just kind of like coming to this vision as though like this is the vision you are capable of experiencing with money, and this is a vision that you can create in your experience with money. And then we're going to come to completion with this particular vision. We're going to take another deep breath in, letting it out, knowing that this vision lives inside of us and we will have access to it whenever we want to come back to it. And then you can start to open your eyes, coming back onto this call together, this environment. And so one thing I encourage you to do, you'll see here we have current relationship with money, 3 key words. So the first vision that you saw, I want you to write down what 3 words are that most describe that first vision. Some words to prompt you, like I've had people like small, puddle, cold, expansive, beautiful, could be scary, wild, and just kind of finding 3 key words to describe that first vision. And then anything that you feel it represents. So for example, it might represent like, you know, not having enough savings, or overwhelmed from having debt, or confusion because you don't know what's going on with the money. So writing down, like, what do you think that image really represents in your financial circumstances? And then secondly, finding 3 key words that describe the optimal relationship with money. So some of those words could be invigorating, abundant, clear, flow. Awesome. Looks like we have more people joining us. So we just did a meditation for those who are joining us, and just kind of roll with us as we move through this section, as we will be moving on soon. Okay, and then in this optimal relationship with money, so you're going to have 3 key words that describe the vision that you saw, and then what you feel your optimal relationship image represents. Do you feel it represents, you know, earning an abundant income, being philanthropic with that money, sharing it with others, being able to navigate it successfully and manage it well? Like, what do you think that second vision represents for you? And as you're doing that, I'm just gonna check in. Ashley or Talia, Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering if you are able to see if people are writing in on the chat.
Yes. So I will
Okay.
read them off to you, starting from, I see Lindsay Kruver says, stay stagnant, clean, powerful.
Awesome.
Flow, coming in and going out with ease, energizing. Celeste Manila, sorry if I'm butchering that, says ocean vast, blue.
Awesome.
Christopher says exhilarating, infinite, loving.
Awesome.
Sarah
Any
says
others?
the first vision is choppy and spontaneous and represents where I still feel money controls need. And second image feels calm, supportive, and clear.
Okay. Awesome. So we'll stop there. Amazing to hear from you all and to hear some of the words that you're getting. And so what I do with people when I'm working in this experience of visualization and kind of taking it to a very practical level, I take these optimal words, the 3 key words in the second water vision, and they start to become almost like your mantra with money. So what I would do, like, there was one that said like vast, and another one that said calm, and another one that said energizing. So if I took those 3, I would write an intention for myself, and I would say something along the lines of, I am creating an experience with money that is vast, energizing, and calm, which would be a very interesting combination, energizing and calm all at the same time. But this is your unique intention, and this is what your potential is to experience with money. But we may not necessarily know that experience with money, but typically we do have a sense of it with water, which is why this is such a fantastic exercise. And this exercise was really inspired by a woman named Lynn Twist, who wrote a book called The Soul of Money, and it inspired me to create this exercise for people so they could really get in touch with like what's really going on in my relationship with money and what is my potential with money, but in a way that my body actually knows it. My body knows what it's like to be energized. My body knows what it's like, to feel calm. So we're creating this intention, and this is an intention that you can be repeating to yourself and writing down. And then I also encourage you finding a picture of that body of water that allows you to kind of set it next to where you do your finances, or put it on the fridge, or put it somewhere that will spark the remembrance when you fall out of remembrance of what you're going for, and spark it like, oh yes, this is what I'm working towards. So next we're going to move into, because we're kind of processing, our emotions, our fears, our doubts, what's going on in our subconscious mind, and kind of like moving through that. But what's really an important component right now is just getting clear about where our personal finances are. And so I have like 4 main areas that I think is very, very helpful when we're in a time of like significant unknown. Some may call it, crisis. We're in kind of like an emergency state. And so when we're in an emergency state or any kind of crisis, we kind of need to assess our resources. What are our resources? What do we actually have right now? And so that can be defined at like on one level as our net worth. Like, well, what are our assets? What's in our bank accounts? What's in our checking account? What's in our investments? What's in our savings account? And, how much debt do I have? So kind of taking stock is really, really important, because otherwise it's just so easy to get caught up in like confusion and chaos. And so knowing like what our net worth is allows us to start kind of like, okay, identifying like, this is what I have, this is what I owe, this is where I'm at, you know, what do I have in savings? Do I have any savings? So kind of, you know, laying that out for ourselves is very, very essential and healthy. And, you know, just allows us to be in the taking stock. Like if we had, you know, food reserves, we'd be taking stock, like how much food do we have? We may be doing that too, to like, you know, take care of ourselves and understand like what are our resources? How much do we have? How long will it last? Next is the management part. You know, so what I work a lot with, and almost all of my clients go through this process of creating a clear spending plan that has different scenarios. So one scenario may be, you know, like what our normal kind of like day-to-day budget is. And then, you know, what it may need to be if our income is changing at all during this period of time. Now, not everybody's income is necessarily going down. Some people in a time like this, their income actually goes up. And so some people's income is going up, some's going down, some is staying the same. So you can have different scenarios. Once you create a spending plan, then you're able to kind of like copy it and modify it. Like maybe you need to be on like, I have a spending plan that's called like, how low can you go? How low can you go? What are the basics? What do you need for your house, for your car, for your food? What are the basics? And then, you know, being able to have different scenarios like, well, this may be a time where I'm thriving. And if you're thriving and a lot more resources are coming in, like what does that scenario look like? How much is going into savings? How much is going towards the future? So when we're in ebb or contraction, we might have a how low you can go kind of spending plan. And if we're in a time of expansion, then we would have, you know, kind of like the optimal spending plan. Then there is the domain of tracking. So there's tracking what's happening against your plan. So I work with people to implement a tracking system. Now, some of my favorite tracking systems are Quicken and Pocketsmith on the personal finance side, and QuickBooks on the business side of things, and being able to put your spending plan into a tracking system and track what is actually happening with your finances against this plan, because you may need to make radical changes right now in your spending. You may not, but even if you don't, it's probably a really good time to start getting conscious about what you are spending, because there's so much collective unknown. We don't know if it will impact us or not. For some, it may already be impacting us. But when we kind of come to like, okay, like I'm going to create a spending plan, what do I actually need? Tracking against that, what am I actually spending? And then lastly, having a vision of how you want to go through times of the unknown. So there's kind of, you know, taking stock, there's having a plan, and then there's having a vision of like, well, what do you want your future with money to look like? Because these things, these events, natural events, happen in cycles. There's an ebb cycle, a flow cycle. We will always have that no matter what. In a river, if you think about a river, there's a time of ebb and there's a time of flow. So what are we going to do in the time of ebb? A collective ebb right now. What is our vision for when the water comes back? So identify for yourself out of these 4 areas: net worth, management of the money and creating a clear spending plan, tracking, or having some kind of a vision. Write down which area you feel is the most important for you to work on right now. And as you're doing that, if you can write in the chat for us so we can connect with some people in the areas that they are identifying. Like, where do you need to place your focus in things that you actually can do something about? Ashley, are you able to read some of those to me?
I've got Pia saying net worth and management, and Rebecca saying vision for sure. Breath of Bliss saying spend plan. Sonia envisioning greater abundance and resourcefulness during times of financial expansion and flow. Carol says tracking. Wow, I love all your guys' answers. They are coming in fast. Have a vision for, Christopher says, have a vision for how you want to go through the unknown. And Ara says vision.
Awesome. Awesome, because this gives you something to focus on. And I always think that's really important. Like, what is the highest priority? Where do you put your attention? And where can you start doing work? Because this is going to start to like move things. And so when we're in the unknown, there's like what we can do something about. And this practical stuff is where we can do something about. Now, if we're in a place where we don't know where the resources are going to come from, this is kind of like where we have to access more agency, because this is a time where we might have to get more resourceful. But when we're clear, for example, of like, if we create a spending plan and we know like, okay, like how low can I go? What is that number? How much do I need to generate on a minimum every single month? When you set that goal and really focus in on it, you work in your relationship with the universe. This is kind of like accessing agency or accessing your power, accessing a higher intelligence to help you find, like, if, you know, my mentor will say, like, if one river dries up, you need to find another river. So some businesses may be affected to the point where they're asked to go and find another river. And so is that what's being asked of you? But being clear about the amount and working with yourself, working with others, and working with the universe to access, like, what do you need to do to generate that level of income to move through this particular point in time. So, you know, kind of having this as like a focus point. This is what you're going to go forward with. This is where you're going to start writing down, researching, not sticking your head in the sand. Like, I don't want to know what's going on with my investments, but being able to see them, because, you know, they will change. They're constantly changing. They may be down significantly. They may be up. So I think really looking at, like, you know, where are they at? What are the numbers? And being able to hold a lot of consciousness around that can really help you start to feel more grounded. So my last component of these three components we're covering today in this, you know, short talk together is create a financial vision. And this is where I think we have just so much opportunity, because it's so easy to go into, like, oh my God, everything's going to fall apart and crash, and how are we going to survive? And yes, those questions are important, but there's, what is your vision? So there's the vision of you and how you go through this time of the unknown. So this is a vision of you and your embodiment, and what are you embodying as you go through a very significant point in history with a lot of unknowns, how you want to go through that. Some of the words that I came up with were, you know, do you want to go through it with confidence, feeling savvy, in a state of trust, clear, proactive, mature, responsible, powerfully connected, responsive to what's happening? Those are some of the ways that you could go through this time if you're really focused on, like, this is how I envision myself going through this. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to get much stronger in your relationship with being resourceful and mature with money and really smart with it. The next question is, what is the vision you are holding for your finances over the next year? Are you automatically going to a place of, oh my God, my resources are going down, my investments are going down, everything's going down? Is that your vision into the future? And being conscious about, well, what vision are you projecting into the future? Are you projecting a vision of success and thriving? Because it is possible in times of economic downturn or recession. It is possible to thrive in these cycles. Are we expanding? Are we growing? Are we managing what we have as well as we possibly can? Are we staying optimistic? Are we envisioning positive changes? Like, what is it we are envisioning over the next year around our income, around our finances? How about over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years? The larger the cycle, it tends to be almost easier because we know that things like this with money are cyclical. Everything with resources is cyclical. It is the nature of the universe. So identifying what is the vision you are holding for the finances over the next year, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years. What about the vision you are holding with your ability to generate income over the next year? Do you have a vision of being able to be resourceful, to really listen deeply to what your intuition is telling you, to be able to take action around your finances? What is the vision you are holding for your community with money? Because this expands beyond just us. We are just a microcosm of the macrocosm. What is the vision we're holding for our communities, our friends, our family? What is the vision that we're holding for our country? How our country responds to this? Are we feeding it with fear and doubt? Like, we're not going to be able to pull through. We're not going to be able to handle it. We're not going to be able to show up. We're not going to be able to make change. Or can we hold a vision like we can respond to this collectively in a very intelligent way? It is possible. What is the vision that we're holding for the global economy? And then lastly, because I really believe in the power of prayer, being able to write out a prayer to the universe, asking for assistance with removing all obstacles to success with your vision and providing clear insights of what you can do now to thrive. So I call it removing all blocks. Those are the obstacles, opening all doors. New doors may open for us during this time. Maybe we need some new doors to open. And I would love if a few of you could put in the vision, just short visions into the chat. And if Ashley, you could read those off for me, that would be awesome.
So Pia has responded. She said, determined, thriving community, sustainable development on my community and the world. Does anybody else have any visions to share? I would love to hear them. And I'm sure they will inspire the rest of the group too.
Yeah, any keywords, anything that you want to hold as a vision for yourself or for the collective.
So Sonia just shared abundance and philanthropy. Beautiful. Christopher
Amazing.
shared prayer to remove obstacles to serving humanity, resources to help build a new world. Yes.
Amazing.
And then Ara said, I am confident we will be more grounded as a result of this experience. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing some of those. It's really, really helpful as you can hear, as I'm hearing people's vision, it inspires me. Like, you know, we inspire each other, we uplift each other, we help each other reach for something maybe more expansive than we would just on our own by ourselves. So I encourage you to be asking those around you, like, well, if you start to notice them go into financial fear, ask them, well, what is your vision? What is your vision? What vision are you holding for the future? What is possible for us? So if you imagine that spreading, you know, faster than the coronavirus, like what kind of world would we be living in if everyone was talking about their vision of possibility? I believe vision to be so, so, so powerful and really, really essential when it comes to finances. And so the last thing I want to leave you with today is essentially something that I talk to my clients regularly about, and that's what is thriving versus just surviving, and who actually thrives financially versus just surviving. And what I've seen is studying tons and tons of people and successful people and books and mentors and my clients. Those who thrive really have a connection to what success looks like for them. They're willing to actually devote time to planning out their finances. They're willing to master money and financial management, not just doing it because they feel they have to, but really kind of master it to create more of it. They budget their expenses and they practice that regularly. They set consistent goals. They can relate to both the bug's eye, which is day-to-day finances, and bird's eye, which is the long-term financial picture. They know thriving is not just how much money they have, but actually a state of mind. So may you all thrive with money as a result of new actions and behavior